Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. Another weekend's jumping takes centre stage on Saturday. We're going to preview the ITV races. We will be doing Ascot first, then the other track, just in case Haydock goes. I don't think it's going to. I think they're going to be all right, but you never know. So we'll kick off with the Ascot stuff. When we get there, joined by Charlie Poste, ex-National Hunt jumps jockey. We did have not Kevin Blake in there a moment ago because I'm not Nick Luck and he's in a car, so he's not Kevin Blake. And that would have made Dan Overall not Josh Stacey, but he just loves to jump. So there we are.
That's low. That's low.
That's a low blow, isn't it? That's a low blow.
God.
Every time I see that guy, he's got a new horse for me.
Yes, and they're often trained by Gordon Elliott or Ollie Murphy.
Yeah. Mind you, he did give me Slade's deal about a year and a half ago for the bar in Bingham. So there we are. Right. That's enough about him. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can do it for completely free, and it's the best no-cost way of supporting this podcast. I'd also flag up episode 11 of the Cheltenham Trail. It was my debut on it, so it's probably one to avoid. But it is there if you want to watch it. The stuff from the other guys, Matt Toombs and Don McLean and Dan Hussey, was excellent. The 336 is where we start. It is the Betfair Ascot Chase, and we've got a field of 4 going to post for this. 1.73 L'Ompresse, Pic Dory's 3.25, Ahoy Senor 6.5. Sail Away is the big priced outsider. I'm a no bet in this. Both of you chaps have put L'Ompresse. Would you back him at that, Dan?
I have a feeling he's going to drift slightly because I think there's enough holes you can poke in L'Ompresse, i.e., does he want 2 mile 5 going right-handed on goodish ground, yard not in great form? There's a lot of things you can throw at him. So I think they're going to get closer together. So I'm hoping he gets towards around 2.0, maybe just shy of that, and then I'll back him.
Okay. Yeah, the right-handed thing. I mean, he's won a grade 1 at Sandown. I remember when he won Charlie at this track before he then went to the Dipperan one. He won really, really impressively, and that sort of launched him onto the scene. But like, he does jump left. I think he'll win. I just don't really want to play odds on. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with the jumping left, but I wouldn't see it as a big factor. I mean, in fact, around Ascot, you often see horses jump a little bit away to their left without it being problematic. So I don't think that'll be an issue to him. I agree with you. 1.76 is probably short enough, but I also agree with Dan. If he drifts out to 2.0, I think he's a high class horse. He's shown that already. I think he's better than these. And yeah, if he ends up at 2.0, I think he is a backable price, Tom.
Okay. That's it. There we go. I think let's all go with that. 2.0 or bigger. We'll back him, but we're not brave enough to do so at the current prices. Let's play Why is Charlie in the car in the chat. Please let us know why you think Charlie is in the car. Don't tell us. Has Fran booted him out? Are his bags packed? Has he been playing golf with a jumper on like that? Possibly he has been playing golf. I don't know. But let us know why you think Charlie Poste is in the car.
I'll reveal this at the end. I will be amazed if anyone gets this. I'm absolutely amazed.
Okay. All right. Well, it's not been racing then. All right. Let's see. Let us know your shouts. What? The 220, no, the 150. I threw myself. The 150 we go back to. This is the Reynoldstown Novices Chase. This is frightening because we've got a team steam here. I joined the party on the tip sheet late, so I've put oh dear Brave Kingdom because the other two guys fancy Brave Kingdom. Apple Away is 2.0. It's 4.33 Kilbeg King. 4.5 Brave Kingdom. So the case for me, guys, is that obviously he's progressive, had a long time off. Looked good when winning at Plumpton. The question was he then going to bounce at Newbury? I thought halfway around he might, but he just stayed on. And this is an absolute unit of a horse. I think on the day I described him as having the arse of a rhino. Like, honestly, he is an absolute chunk. I was really taken with him in the flesh, and I just thought he was pretty good value for that success, and immediately thought he could go up in grade and make it interesting. And I don't know how strong a race this is. Kilbeg King was... obviously, he got close to the horse I put up subsequently for the grade 1 where we sadly lost the Paul Nicholls horse, Hermes Allen, the Scilly Isles. So that is good form, but I just wonder if he got close enough to Hermes Allen because he didn't really stay. I do like Kilbeg King, Charlie, but a Brave Kingdom I was so taken with in the flesh, and I think he has a sexier profile to him than perhaps he's being given credit for.
Yeah, I think. I mean, to me, it's a big price related thing. I mean, I'm not saying you can pick holes in the others, but this horse, his only defeat was in a Grade 2 novice hurdle around Sandown. Apart from that, he's got a faultless record, and it's not his fault that he had that long period on the sidelines. He just got injured. Since then, he's resumed his progressive curve, and he's 2 from 2. As you say, there were moments at Newbury it looked like it might not happen, but it did. You then throw into the mix that in the subsequent interview with Paul Nicholls, Paul described him as a proper horse, which I think only adds to the confidence that, again, he's a good jumper, he's versatile re-ground. I think this track will serve him ideally being stiff finishing. And I thought at the prices, he was impossible to ignore in relation to his 2 main market rivals.
Dan.
Yeah, that really encapsulates. I think he's one of those typical staying chasers who won't ever do it like extravagantly or win by miles. I think he'll just do enough. I think you saw that in Newbury. Obviously, he was taken on for the lead that day by Theatre Man, who'd obviously then finished second in the very good novice handicap chase at Cheltenham. That's always a good pointer to big spring handicaps. So I think that's a decent level of form. With Kilbeg King, I just want to see him back that up now. I'm not sure I think he was probably just a bit flattered over Christmas, because I think realistically he had an impossible task, and he was ridden to pick up the pieces if they fell his way, and he ran really well, as well as he could have been expected to. I'm just not sure if he's going to be able to back that up. His previous form wouldn't suggest he could. That's a bit standout currently. And Apple Away, obviously, is a mare that has captured a lot of hearts and a lot of minds, and she's done nothing really wrong over fence. She's progressed nicely, but again, it is price related. I think Brave Kingdom has a fair bit of scope for improvement. As I say, bar one defeat, he's blemish free. I think he's just a really nice staying chaser in the making.
Yeah, we're either all going to be right or all going to be wrong. Next up is the 225. It's one of the most competitive, probably the most competitive race, with 16 runners over 2 miles, 3.5 furlongs. Rare Edition is a 6.5 shot. Bad for Ben Pauling is 8.5, 9.0 Monville, as is Rambo T. Irish Hill 10.0. Bigger prices thereafter. Rare Edition, then the favourite, but a backable price. Dan.
Yeah, I think he's got an outstanding chance here, to be honest. I mean, you don't have to go too far back. I think maybe just over 12 months ago, where he was touted as a leading British contender for Supreme, and obviously didn't quite work out after that. But that was the level of form he was showing. He battered Roubaud, who's obviously improved since, but he looked a horse going places. See, I think they were meant to go chasing this season, but kept the hurdles instead. Really well backed on his reappearance on good ground at Doncaster, where just couldn't reel in the leading couple. Then made up for that next time out at Kempton, where again, that was a sharp enough test for him. Good to soft ground, Kempton. I'm not sure that was his idea when he made a bad mistake 2 out, and he's only gone up £3 for that win. And I think the bad error 2 out and the fact that he looked a bit workmanlike is going to really serve him here, because he looks desperately crying out for this step up in trip. He's a half brother to Pencil Full of Lead, who won a Grade 2 over 2 miles 6 and was third in the Fiestes. So this step up in trip, I think, is going to bring out a fair bit of improvement off a mark 139 on the form he's shown previously, and with the potential for more to come. I think he's got a really good chance here.
All right, that's the horse that heads the betting. Charlie?
Yeah, again, I completely agree with Dan. I mean, I wanted to go with something that had a bit more sort of win and play scope. So I've come down with Santos Bleu. He was well trained and well prepped and hit form with a vengeance last year, reeling off a hat trick from Boxing Day onwards. He actually ran fine a couple of starts early on. I think he was second at Aintree, then ran okay in the very valuable staying handicap hurdle at Haydock. And then I thought he was unlucky on his penultimate start at Wetherby. He was given too much to do. And the horse of Ollie Murphy's, whose name escapes me, got away from him, and he was never reeling him back in. Put that right next time back at that track and won nicely, £5 rise. But I think he was value for more than that. He jumped really well the whole way around, bar the last when he made a mistake, and Ben Sutton lost both his irons. So I think there's reason to believe that like I say, the £5 rise was fair, because I think he would have won way more cozily had his rider had both irons to aid him. I think this trip and the track are right up his street. Again, he's also finishes off well. This stiff track should play to his strengths. And at 17.0, I just thought this 7-year-old, there's no real reason why he can't progress further and make his mark off this elevated mark.
Okay, I'm looking for clues as to why you're in the car, Charlie. That's just, there's not enough going on behind you there. It's
Guy in a high vis just walked past.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
great spot.
Yeah. There we go,
Okay.
yeah, see.
A guy in a high vis. This is like
that could be a red herring. That, to be honest, yeah.
Oh no.
okay. All right. High vis, maybe nothing to do with it. All right. Doesn't look like a house behind it. It looks like more substance to that. Anyway, I'm going to tip up. Let us know your thoughts. Peter's already been in touch. It's not going to be that, Peter. I am. I'm going with Montvale, who is back over hurdles. If you go back to the win here, where he absolutely bolted up over Shorty, looked like he wanted further. He's £8 higher than that. Then I think the case is pretty simple. He ran okay in the Betfair hurdle, won by Orcan Risk, when he just didn't get into it, and there was a change of tactics there. I don't think necessarily that change of tactics doesn't suit him, but it didn't suit on the day. It was another Betfair hurdle where the pace held up pretty well. Then the Imperial Cup, I guess it's probably just all too hot for him, to be honest. These graded handicap hurdles. This is easier. Fences didn't really work out for him, and then last time he was disappointing. He did shape at Newton Abbot as though he wanted further, and then at this track last time, where I thought the trip would suit, he had an irregular heartbeat. There's a bit up in the air, therefore, but I thought at 9.0 of 128 back at the scene of his last success over hurdles, the case I think is solid enough. It's just the irregular heartbeat, which they can bounce right back from that. It just explains last time. 9.0, I'm happy to play at the prices, definitely, for Montvale. The Swindley Handicap Chase is up next. We've got some fairly big prices in here. I'm with Victorino, who does sit at the top of the betting, I guess, unsurprisingly, although it was a little disappointing when last seen at 4.5. 300 through 5 is 5.0. Ironbridge is 6.0. Chamblou is 8.0. Bigger prices thereafter. Victorino loves it here. I know that I found the horse at a big old price on it, which was just luck. But then he went and won again from Yeah Man, who lines up obviously in the Grand National trial at Haydock. I didn't know the ground would suit him that day on better ground, but it did. And then, last time he was just never really in it at Cheltenham. Back in trip, he was a bit slow over some of the obstacles. And he was fairly hammered. I just thought the drop-in trip was a weird one, and maybe the track didn't suit. But I still think he's worth a go off a mark of 146 at a track he absolutely loves and clearly suits him well. He's the only horse I wanted to back at 4.5. Dan?
Yeah, I think there was a few question marks of those at the top of the market. I couldn't have 300 through 5 being favourite off a career high mark again. I just think he's found a market it's very tough to win off. So I was looking further down. I just thought I'd give Tornham Frayed a bit of a chance at a big price, currently 19.0, I believe. So you go back a couple of seasons, he won that competitive 2.5 mile handicap at Cheltenham on Trials Day, won it off 131. He's off 132 here. Missed all of last season and then reappeared in the Paddy Power Gold Cup, which realistically was a very tough ask, even though obviously Nigel Twiston-Davies can get them ready. That was always going to be quite a tough assignment. And he shaped pretty well for a long way. Fell 2 out when just getting pulled away from by the front few, but ran really encouragingly. Shaped again pretty well on his next start. I think shaped as if he might be ready for a step up to 3 miles. I think you can completely put a line for his last run because that came on bottomless ground. And this is a horse who definitely wants ground on the quicker side, which for the first time since that win on Trials Day, he's probably going to get ground towards probably not quick ground, but good to soft ground based on the weather predictions and how it's going to dry out. So I think that's a lot of encouragement there. Obviously, this is his first start at 3 miles, and I think that's an Orangle. I do think he could be ready for this step up in trip. And while he is a 10-year-old, he's still relatively unexposed over fences. It's just his 9th start because he missed a season. And weirdly, 10-year-olds seem to have a great record in this race. I think 5 of the last 7 renewals have been won by 10-year-olds. So if he's ridden positively again, and they have faith in his ability to stay on better ground, I actually do think he's got quite a nice each-way chance.
All right. And Charlie with Shan Blue, who got round last time. That was improvement.
Yeah, it was. And as you say, formerly high class grade 1 winning novice chaser. And form had taken a real dip, pulled up on 3 consecutive runs. But yeah, there was more encouragement the last day. Granted, it was a funny race. The Triple Trade won after Harper's Brook kind of threw it away, but he looked like he was going to drop out after making a mid-race mistake, and then sort of stayed on very well again after looking like he'd be held from the back of the last. That was over 2-3. On all back form, this step up to 3 miles should suit him well, going back up in trip. If that run has given him a bit of confidence, finishing a race off for the first time in a long while, there's just no getting away from the fact he's dangerously well handicapped, £9 lower than his peak. And yeah, at 8.0, you come back and win and place. So yeah, Chamblou for me, one of my more tentative suggestions, but it would be no surprise to see this horse get back on the winning front.
Chamblou, who I absolutely wasn't taking the mick with the selection at all, because I can definitely see it. And I mean, the horse I'm putting up in the next race we're going to be previewing deserves being taken the mick out of, because we go to Wincanton for the Kingwell hurdle, and top of the betting is it's Colonel Mustard now. Well, Roubaud, when I looked earlier on, they're 3.5 the pair, Roubaud, Colonel Mustard. Mean Line is 5.0. Goshen is 8.0, as is Guard Your Dreams. Tight little contest, this. We've got 3 different selections. Charlie, first of all.
Yeah, again, trappy race. Question marks over some of them, and probably over my selection as well. But Roubaud for me at 3.5. You know, he won the elite hurdle here earlier in the year. Was impressive doing so from Hansard, who then franked that form. And you know, since then he chased down Constitution Hill, impossible task, and then finished 4th or 5 behind Lossiemouth the last at Cheltenham. I just can't believe Cheltenham over 2-1 would be for him, and return back to Wincanton is what really made him of interest to me. He carries the top penalties off 11 stone 10, but 3 horses in the last 10 years have shouldered that penalty to win this race. And just going down through them, you know, Colonel Mustard finds winning really difficult. Goshen's a law to himself. The Mean Lion has to step up. So I just felt that he was really the solid one in this race. And for that reason, yeah, I'm with Roubaud at 3.5.
I'm going to go next, just really to give Dan the chance to comment on my selection, Goshen, because I feel like it's probably worth tearing apart. But he's won 2 of these, then didn't run in it last year. I like the blinkers. I know Cheek Pieces didn't. Well, the first 3 were Cheek Pieces. They were okay. The trouble is, the blinkers might light him up so much that he just, I don't know, goes completely doolally. But I mean, it's been poor so far this season. But I do like horses coming back to try and do what they've done before. Obviously, he was it wasn't much of a race the last time he won it 2 years ago, but the time before that he was good. He's not the horse he was on ratings, and that said, he doesn't have to be to take this. He hasn't got a huge amount of fine with them, and he's got to give a bit of weight away, except to Roubaud. But it's just the fact that it's here. He can just, it suits him. He can race away from them, blinkers on, just go. And if he's traveling round at halfway, I think he might just stay there and nick it. But the more I'm talking about it, the more I think it's a bad shout. Which normally
works. He's beaten a horse home this season. Yeah, that is true. Actually, yeah. The more tempo you get,
that's an unbelievable thing to do from our producer. Those of you listening on the podcast, Dan Hussey has flagged up. I backed this horse anti-post in an ACCA with 2 other horses, and the other 2 had won. And I was watching the triumph on the steps and was nearly sick. I can't believe we put that up. This is as Josh Moore has just about gone over the top of him, this picture, when he's, catching a hoof on the last in the triumph.
Jamie, Tom. Jamie.
Oh, Jamie. There we go.
Who's
Jamie.
also just retired as well.
Yeah,
low blow.
We should wish him the best of luck, Jamie.
You are quite... Yeah, absolutely spot on. We should. As I'm having an absolute rant. But yeah, we should
about your lost tick from 4 years ago.
Jamie, all the best.
I lost an ACCA.
He did a vertebrae, Jamie, didn't he? So he hasn't come back from that. But listen, we wish him all the very best. But Hussey, you're still a disgrace for putting that up. I haven't lost that. Go on, you can tear it apart, Dan, if you want to make your selection.
With pleasure. Has he actually beat a horse home this season?
Probably not.
That's a genuine question, because I don't think he has, and they've tried absolutely everything.
They haven't tried blinkers.
Yeah, that might be the real Midas touch. But 2 miles, 2.5 miles, 3 miles, the flat. I generally don't. I think he might beat 1 or 2 horses home. I think Goshen has been brilliant for the game, because every time you see his name on a race card, you just think, right, that race is now better. It adds a level of intrigue, but I just think he's in a sharp decline. I don't think he's really shown anything. I think you're absolutely mad. The only angle I do like with him is that he might go forward and make the pace for my selection, the Mean Lion. I think we'll need a relatively strong pace to aim at, but if he goes forward, and he's not certain to, because I've been riding him in all kinds of different ways, but if he and Roubaud go forward, I think the Mean Lion will have a strong pace to aim at. And I think he's a really improving horse. Obviously, third in the Tolworth as a novice, that was far from disgraced. Won a handicap that's worked out well earlier this season, and then fifth in the Greatwood off top weight. And obviously that Greatwood form has had no end of boost. Realistically speaking, with hindsight, going in that off top weight was basically an impossible task. Missed a couple of intended races before the Lanzarote, where travelled really powerfully through that, obviously over 2 mile 5, made 2 late errors, which I think cost him the win. I don't think dropping back in trip is necessarily a bad thing for him. I think he's one of those very versatile horses who, especially on heavy ground, will find 2 miles no issue whatsoever. On weight-adjusted ratings, he only has £1 to find with Roubaud, who I am absolutely amazed is not favourite. I don't know how Colonel Mustard is now rivaling for favouritism, because all week he was basically 2.0. And I couldn't have Colonel Mustard in the fit. As Charlie said, I think he's won a maiden hurdle and that's it. So this is a really strange race. But I think the mean line is arguably the solid one here. I don't think there's really anything against him in terms of conditions. So yeah, I think he can make the step up. And I say on ratings, he doesn't really have anything to find.
As Owen points out, Goshen finished 26th of 31 on the 15th of October.
Red hot for
Harwich.
Yeah.
So there we are. Battered
Silly
6
me.
of them, or 5 of them. Let's move on to the Haydock card. A couple of races to preview for you at Haydock. The Rendlesham first of all. I haven't got prices up in front of me, but I will when we give our selections. I'm a no bet. Couldn't have it. Charlie, I spoke to Ruth Jefferson earlier on in the week, who is running this horse over hurdles. The vet's suggestion was to run the horse over hurdles initially because he, I think, pulled a tendon off her knee or something in the Gold Cup. But she says he's back and raring to go. I thought she seemed pretty confident, but I've left it alone.
Well, that is reassuring, because I did wonder, and I wasn't privy to that information, that it might just be a pipe opener before going back chasing. So I just thought it was a trappy race. You know, Botox has to concede the penalty all round. Butch, I felt, is a lovely, likeable horse that's got a big future, but he might be more next year's horse. And Red Risk finds winning difficult again in recent times. And this lad, he's a 161 rated chaser. Well, last time we saw him, he was brought down in the Gold Cup, and he loves heavy ground as well. And conditions at Haydock, as well, fingers crossed it goes ahead, which it should, but they're going to be attritional, and you're gonna want to operate very, very well in testing conditions, which this horse does. So just again at prices, he was 6.5 relative to his main rivals. I just thought he was interesting purely because of that love for heavy ground and the fact that he's turned into such a high caliber chaser. And I just liked him more at the prices that relative to his rivals, who for me, I could pick holes in them.
Dan, we've been here before, haven't we, with Red Risk?
We have, and to be honest, I'm still sore about it because I think he was a massive price when I put him up for the West Yorkshire Hurdle, and I'm still struggling to believe how he got beat on that occasion, and which does add to Charlie's point that he does find winning difficult, because he went into that race travelling the best of all into the straight and fiddled every single hurdle down the straight and got beat at length by Botox Has. And it was one of those which was all the more agonising because it was slow motion. So you could see the money just fading away, but in just a bit more dramatic fashion. Really painful stuff, but I do think he's got a race like this in him. Like, this race isn't going to shake up the Stayers hurdle market, but I think you have to catch Red Risk when he's fresh. I think he has no problem with heavy ground, and I think he's best on flat left-handed tracks as well. So he's pretty much getting that to a T. He's £2 better off with Botox Has for that West Yorkshire Hurdle run. I think Bryony on board is actually a very good booking. I think he's a horse who needs to be forced to do things. Whereas obviously Harry is a very sympathetic rider, will almost let the horse make up his own mind. I don't think that necessarily helped in the home straight at Wetherby, because when he made up his own mind, he didn't jump a hurdle. I think Bryony's a good booking for him, and I think he's a couple of points bigger in the market than Botox Has, who's been running well, but we know his level. And I still think Red Risk has a race like this in him, and I'm praying finally I get a day with him.
Botox had 3.25, Butch is 4.5. And 4.5 for Red Risk, Sounds Russian, is 6.5. Wakul and Martha Bray are the outsiders, 26.0 apiece. The 3.15 is the Grand National Trial at Haydock. And we've got a couple of horses in the same colours towards the top of the betting, both Iron and Famous Bridge. So Iron Bridge is 6.5, Famous Bridge 7.0, as is My Silver Lining. Credo 8.0, I Will Do It 8.0. And then we get to the slightly bigger prices. Charlie, you can come in first of all. Famous Bridge is the shortest of our three selections.
Yeah, just my sort of tried and tested with this guy. I've been with him a few times this year, and he's done me a few good turns. I look at Doncaster last time out. The ground was just way too quick. I put him up. I said the ground was a risk, and it was. And I think this is one of these occasions where it was just really sensible riding by Sean Quinlan. It was never happening from an early stage, and he pulled him up, before they even turned around the bottom bend at Doncaster, and I'd hope has therefore saved him from having a hard race when he had no chance of winning. He's unbeaten at Haydock. He again loves deep testing conditions. I think he's only been out the first 3 once when the ground is soft or slower. And, before Donny, he had a massively progressive profile as a staying chaser. I think it was easy to write off the Doncaster run. And so I see no reason why he can't continue his upward curve. And again, at the prices, I think he's 7.0. I'll back him win and place because he's so good round Haydock as well.
Okay. And Snipe, I see, is going up at 9.0 for you, Dan.
Yeah, right at the bottom of the weights. And obviously Haydock is going to be very testing, and a lightweight may just prove beneficial here. See, there's no way this horse should be a staying chaser based on his pedigree, but looks like a real marathon test will actually suit him. Won at Aintree on Boxing Day when he was smuggled round, hit him really patiently, won that fairly comfortably in the end, came through, stayed on really powerfully. The third is one next time out to give the form a bit of substance. And this is ultimately going to be a step up, but I think this actual extreme test is really going to suit him, and off a really light weight with Tristan Dorrell's claim making it even lighter. I think he's actually going to really relish conditions, but I have to say this is a really good race. I mean, the betting says it all. So it's one of those which it's hard to have a really confident opinion, but I think Snipe, given a patient ride, I think can creep into this and run a really nice race.
I'm going to chance Highland Hunter, who, not because he's got cheap pieces on for the first time. Obviously, the Lingfield race, he just had a lot to find. I quite fancied him in the Beecher, and he got rid of Paddy Brennan at the chair. But there was definite promise the time before that at Kelso, and that was on the first start for a little while. I think he does want a marathon trip now. This will be the furthest he's been over for this new yard. Mr. Tom Broughton's flying along at the moment, and he handles really heavy ground. I'm just looking forward to seeing him have a real test again, and I couldn't really make my mind up between those at the top of the betting. So it's very much a win and place shout, Highland Hunter. But, we've got 11 runners. I can bang see him there staying on in the first 3. So Hunter. For me, that is our, race previews done. Any other bets? I noticed, Charlie, that our boy, the Venetia Williams horse, his name I've forgotten, Buxy Diepierre is running this weekend. He's running back in a novice. So I'm just swerving it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm over 2.5. I'm surprised. I think we both think he wants 2.5 is probably right. But anyway, so we're not putting him up.
No.
Any other horses we want to talk about that we're not putting up? Probably not. Dan, I don't know why I did that. Yeah. Dan, save me.
Yeah, please help. Yeah, luckily I've got 3 from other races, which got a bit overkill here. First one, always a reliable upper temps qualifier, but a horse I absolutely love is Cuthbert Dibble. He was one of the handicappers I had on my list to kind of go to war with this season. Comes from that EBF final, which has just produced winner after winner. Unsurprisingly so, it's a really good race. Made his belated reappearance at Leicester 18 days ago on very testing ground and won as he liked. I think they think he's got a fair bit more to come from him. Finn Lambert takes off £5. Obviously, it's going to be very testing conditions, 3 miles on Haydock heavy, but to me, this is a horse who should absolutely relish that. And even though he's top weight, he carried that last time out on testing ground as well. So I'm not too concerned. In the 4:10 at Ascot, Coco Mademoiselle makes her handicap debut for Mark 121. Now, she's very interesting based on today's form because she was 1-3 favourite to give £7 to Springtime Promise, who just won the Jane Seymour at Sandown, the Grade 2, beating Cherry Darm, a horse of Harry and Dan Skelton's, who I think they think quite a lot of. So I think now she's in a handicap of 1-2-1 with that form significantly boosted. I think she's going to be very well supported. There aren't prices yet, but based on that form alone, she looks very well handicapped off 1-2-1 in what is admittedly quite an open race. And then the 450 at Wincanton and Zonda for John Joe O'Neill. I think highlighted as a bit of a dark horse for their yard to follow early in the season. Made an encouraging debut over hurdles from very novice behind Artistic Endeavour and Donica, who have both proven to be quite useful handicappers. We last saw him over Christmas in a 2 mile 7, 0 to 120 handicap, where he finished really well. He finished 4th, only beaten 5 lengths, a bit too keen, still looked to be learning a bit. The 3rd and 5th both won next time out to give that form some substance, but drops in class here to a 0 to 105. I think the slight 2 furlong drop in trip will also help. And I still think he's got a fair bit of upside from his lowly mark of 103.
Bang. There's your 3. They will all go up on the sheet. Cuthbert Dibble in the 350 at Haydock, Coco Mademoiselle in the 410 at Ascot, and Zonda in the 450 at Wincanton. Matchbook Zero long shot time. Don't forget Matchbook Zero. The market goes live at 10 a.m. each day. You're most likely to be getting best odds because of the nature of exchange, and that is further enhanced by the fact there's zero commission on Matchbook Zero, zero margin too. So those odds are further enhanced. If you want to win bet, take advantage of Matchbook Zero. It's a bit of a no-brainer. Ultimately, you're very, very, very likely, I can't say definitely, but very, very likely to be getting better odds. I'm Highland Hunter in the 315 at Haydock at 13.0. Charlie?
Yeah, Santos Blue for me in the 225 at Ascot at 17.0.
And Dan?
And 3 different races for a change. Well done, team. I'll go in the 3 o'clock at Ascot and Torn and Frayed.
How's that for a Trixie? There we are. Right, we've got no lays. So before our best bets, I think it's time that we reveal why Charlie Poste is in the car. So the suggestions we've had in Peter's Punt says Charlie's in a car because once a month he drives his butler's car to convince himself he's in touch with the common man. I mean, it's not going to be that because, as we all know, he's not in touch with the common man. That's just far from that. Owen says Charlie's in the car as yesterday was Valentine's Day and the wife, she has a name, hasn't let him back in yet. I think that's more realistic, but I don't think it is that. Dan has said golf, which was flagged up because, Charlie, the fact is you are wearing a top that looks like a golf top. Dan, overall, do you have a question? Do you have a suggestion, Dan, overall?
The high vis is still throwing me. Like, I don't know whether to follow that lead or not. It's like a mystery book, this one. Like, is it, as Charlie said, is this a red herring or is he throwing us off the scent? Is he on some kind of new building site? Is there some kind of construction work going on? So many possibilities.
He's very wealthy, so he could be building a new house somewhere, Charlie. Who knows? I think while rather than returning from somewhere, I think you are away. I think you're staying in a hotel and it's a sort of quaint little venue where you can't find quiet. So you've had to go in the car for some quiet. That's my guess. Please reveal, Charlie, why you're in the car.
Well, you're right. I'm not on the way home. I'm actually in the services on the M1, so I'm going to watch the rugby league in Hull tonight.
That was a red herring, that high vis.
That bloody high vis.
Yeah.
I thought it was so shrewd spotting that.
What service is you at?
It's which one is it? Trowel, is it on the M1? Is that right?
It's not a great one. I'd have stopped somewhere else.
No, it's not.
Mate,
it's crap. But I was sort of trying to time it right for doing the pod. So yeah, this is where I got to.
Yeah, can't beat an M&S Costa combination.
No, agreed. I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Best bets then. Best bets. If you're sticking around with us for best bets, because now we know why Charlie's in the car. You're probably all gone. I'm with Victorino in the 3 o'clock at Ascot. Charlie.
Brave Kingdom in the 150 at Ascot.
And Dan.
Cuthbert Dibble in the 350 at Haydock.
There's another Trixie for you. Great stuff. Thanks, everyone. Well done to Dan, to Charlie. Safe trip up to watch the rugby later on. And don't forget the insights column that'll be up later on, courtesy of producer Dan Hussey. Yeah, put all of those tips for you in one place. Wish you all a great weekend. Keep an eye out on socials for when our Cheltenham preview is going to be, by the way. It will be the last week of this month. So keep an eye out on that. We'll have the A-team assembled for you for our Cheltenham Festival anti-post preview. See you soon. Bye-bye.